Reservation Dogs, Episode 6, Decolonativization. Was so nervous that I wouldn't even be able to get the title out. I really enjoyed this episode, guys. Wanted to take a couple of days to just be reflective about it because it was not a traditional episode. I think it talked about a lot of themes that were really important in kind of a lighthearted way. The entire episode, it takes place almost entirely at the clinic, where they host an annual youth summit, which is NARD's, Native American Reclamation and Decolonization Symposium. If you show up, you get a $15 Sonic gift card, so the place is packed. I really enjoyed Miss Matriarch. She was one of my favorite characters of this episode. She's one of the facilitators of this symposium, and so she's there to introduce think pieces and give the indigenous youth different perspectives and ways to think about things. She was really impressive when she came out and she says something to the effect of, I'm a PhD student at Dartmouth, or, some Ivy League cottage. I'm also a beater and a healer and an auntie, And some of the kids looked around at one another to say, that doesn't equate, that doesn't add up. And so it was really interesting to see someone, there's so much small talk about, you left the res, you didn't leave the res. This is what, was caused by that small conversation between Teeny and Bear's mom. But it's interesting for the res kids to see another perspective, someone who has, not so much followed a traditional route, but found some ways to bridge the gaps between culture and traditional education and moving the conversation forward. So I just thought, for her being a refreshing character, I really enjoyed that. She reminded me that I kept thinking as her character was on screen, I kept thinking medicine, because medicine is not always sweet. Everything that she said was not cartoons and colors. Some of what she said was hard truth. Some of what she said is boring truth that the kids, have to think beyond themselves to get to. But she was absolutely necessary. She was a great vehicle and a vessel of connecting those kids to culture. Cheese speaks up at one point, and I know, as I always do, I'm just jumping completely out of order, but Cheese speaks up at one point and says, "What is colonization?" And I said, oh, I get it now. That's why these things are so important. We just go about our lives assuming that everyone's on the same page, that we're all fighting the same fight. And a lot of times we don't even have the language. And until you see one another in a common space and understand where one another are coming from, you're going to get frustrated with folks out in the world. And why is he acting like that? And why doesn't he or she know better? And a lot of times we don't know the literacy, the historical education that folks have. That address or that number, that 1492 that shows up everywhere, in the episodes. What is the significance of that? Folks that, are watching this show from 30,000 feet, are they picking up on those small things? And I think that this episode was important to highlight some of the disparities in education, some of the contradictions. The fact that the gift for coming to the symposium is a $15 Sonic gift card, And I know it's not lost on anyone else that, Sonic is a huge corporate interest in the United States. And so that it's, a perfect example of colonization and how we have replaced, nutritious diet with quick convenience. And sometimes we will trade sacredness and righteousness for, you know, what's easy and what's convenient. And so, you know, all of that and kind of tying all of those pieces together and having someone like Miss Matriarch and her partner there to kind of draw those conclusions for the kids, I thought was really nice. Jackie and Willie Jack, so she lets her fall. You know, they're doing that trust exercise, and she lets, you know, Jackie fall. I wasn't happy in that moment, but I did laugh. I'm not even going to hold you guys up. I did laugh, but it took that for her to learn, you know, just how deep Jackie's pain is. You know, she's also coming from the same place that we are. She's lost a brother. She's lost a compadre. It was really touching to hear her, and I got a little bit emotional, guys, when she talked about, you know, the experience with her brother and feeling safe and feeling protected, and looking back on that time so long ago when I felt secure in this world, and not having a lot of instances of security and freedom since then. And that's why I'm such a closed off person. So I thought, you know, a lot of insight into Jackie was really interesting. I love that the kids don't waste a lot of time, you know, once they realize their mistakes and realize the truth. They don't waste a lot of time BSing themselves. You know, they go directly to the source and try to confront it and try to apologize. I thought that was great. You know, Jackie's response wasn't perfect, but I appreciated the effort. I appreciated when Bear, you know, told Allura, I see what you're doing. You know, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. You haven't apologized to me, but listening to you, I can see your struggle. I can see what you're going through. I'm trying, you're trying. This show is such a lesson in just like trimming the fat and cutting, you know, to what's really important. And so I'm privileged to be witness to some of these lessons. What were some things that you pulled from this episode? Miss Matriarch was an interesting character. Tell me if you guys know her. Is she, you know, someone that's known in the community and it was an interesting cameo? I just thought it was a refreshing and an interesting character, and just another way to look at, you know, being indigenous. And I love that. I love perspective changing. You can have a seat at the table and learn all of these things that, you know, they're telling you that you need to know, but also hold on to the traditions and the culture and the practices that mean a lot to you. And to have an example of someone who is living both of those extremes, but seems like a balanced person, that doesn't seem like they're, you know, nutty or being pulled in all kinds of different directions. The fact that you can have balance is refreshing to see, you know, and I hope that the kids walked away saying, you know, I can go this way or that and still be valued as an indigenous person. So, fabulous episode. I took so much from it, you know, in my excitement to talk about the things that were so important to me. I'm sure I'm skipping over a lot of really important things, but did you see the importance, you know, the important discussion about culture, you know, in this conversation, and what did it mean to you? Those of you that, you know, are inside of the community, share some insight with me about what you got from this episode. But it was really enlightening and a really important episode, so I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts and do it right. After I hang up with you guys here, I am running to go watch the first episode of Rings of Power. So stay tuned if you are interested in that review. My review may go up this evening or tomorrow morning at the very latest. But stay tuned. Have a wonderful weekend, my friends. And until next week's episode of Reservation Dogs, cheers. Have a great week.